Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our first OSA Office Hours webinar of the school year. Welcome back. We hope everything is going smoothly and everyone is excited for the next year. Today we will be going through our agenda in a little bit of a different order than usual. We will be going in chronological order as to which assessments are coming up first. So with that being said, we will go ahead and get started.
Hi, I'm Dana Summerfield, and I just want to remind you that Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction will be releasing an e-learning series this fall as part of its Strategic Assessment Initiative. The series will include 3 modules focusing on assessment literacy, data literacy, and strategic assessment systems. If you'd like to take a sneak peek at those, you can look at a pilot version of the Introduction to Strategic Assessment Systems. You can do that by just clicking on the link on the screen. Also, the exciting part of this series is that it comes in 2 formats. One is an e-learning module that lets an individual do a self-guided training, or there's also a packet of including a slideshow and facilitator guide that CESAs, districts, teacher teams can use to go through the modules as a group. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started with NAEP. Since we've already started some NAEP stuff for age 13 samples in the state. This is just a reminder that this year is a little bit different. It's a long-term trend assessment, which has been conducted since the early 70s. It's using the same tests and frameworks so that they can maintain trend. And it's because it's been going since the 1970s, it's paper-based. It's reading and math, and as all other NAEP assessments, the staff administer the assessment, the NAEP staff, and they bring all the necessary materials. It's slightly shorter than the tablet-based testing that we're used to these days, and it's age-based, not grade-based. We're used to grade 4 and 8, but long-term trend is age 13-year-olds, 9-year-olds, and 17-year-olds. And the 13-year-old test window is starting pretty soon. So here's the communication schedule. There are much fewer schools in our state sample for long-term trend, much smaller sample than we see in state NAEP. In May and June, before summer, we sent notification letters to districts and principals. Copies went to DACs. And before each test window, I'm sending mailings to the schools with details about the assessment. DACs will get an email about that and about registering for my NAEP. Age 13 schools already got their letters. Age 9 schools will be getting their letters in the next few weeks, and age 17 schools will get them in December. And once they get that letter, they'll see information about how to do their student list e-files, and there are different deadlines for each of those. Age 13 schools have already submitted their student list. Age 9 will be in November, age 17 in January. And once schools submit their e-files, they work through a series of pre-assessment tasks that are similar to other NAEP years, where they review student information, designate accommodations, work out logistics for test day, such as the time of the test, where in the building they'll test. And all of that is outlined in the materials, and NAEP field staff are in contact with schools once they're in the process of e-filing to help with all those logistics. A couple other NAEP items. We're expecting the NAEP 2019 results to be released later this fall. And that we'll see our state results that we can compare to other states. We'll also see Milwaukee tutor results, and there will be national results as well. And this was the assessment that was conducted last school year. In the 2018-19 school year, there grades 4 and 8 in reading and mathematics. During the assessments this year, as always, I'll be out observing the NAEP assessment. I'm observing the NAEP team and the assessment protocols, and I'll make sure to let schools know before I show up in a school, so it's not a surprise. And so far, for international assessments for PISA and PEARLS this school year, we have not been notified of any schools being selected yet, but I will be in contact, as always, if we hear of anything. Thanks.
Hi, good morning. Just wanted to give a quick reminder of some of the important dates for access. During essentially the month of October, private school pre-ID file uploads can happen. You can either upload rosters for your private schools, or you can give them permissions in the WIDA AMS so they can do it themselves. On Friday, November 1st, it's pretty much our last chance to make sure all of the correct ELP codes are getting pushed to WIDA. On Monday, the 4th, we're going to create the public school roster, so any changes made to your SIS after the 4th won't be reflected in that roster. Whatever rosters are uploaded as of November 5th, the DRC is going to make that material order for and create all of the pre-ID stickers. So again, if you can just be absolutely sure that you've got correct ELP codes by November 1st, you should be all set and have minimal work to do for access rosters. As we did last year, we're going to order alt access for students who have either taken alt access in the last year or who have the alternate assessment flag set in WISE data. If you look in WISE-Secure, you can find that in student details, you can see whether or not that is set to yes or not. About a week later, on November 12th, test setup will be open. That's where you can take the default rosters, which are done by grade and domain, and adjust all of those test sessions however you see fit. About 2 weeks later, materials will show up, and you'll be able to order additional materials, and just under a week after that, the test window will open. I wanted to highlight a couple of things that generally that we kind of need to get done throughout the fall. If you still have TSMs installed, those need to get uninstalled. They're no longer supported, and if you try to launch the assessment and it's still connected to a TSM, you will get an error. DRC has officially gotten to the end of life with the TSM. Access training, as always, is delivered through the WIDA Secure portal. I just wanted to just give a reminder that there is an account management and training status tile, and within there, you will be able to see where all of your staff are in terms of training. So as you're going through October and November and getting training done, just keep an eye on that and make sure that if you need to nudge anybody to get training done, you can make that happen. WIDA is continuing to add information to the download library in the WIDA Secure portal. That's where they're putting a lot of their manuals and documentation. They now have lists of all the upcoming webinars in there. They also have recordings of all of the previous ones. They've got a lot of videos showing how to do lots of things. So if you have staff that are needing a little bit of extra support, definitely point them to the download library. And as always, if you need the KWAPT screener, that's where it can be downloaded from. The last thing I wanted to just talk about for a second are student practice tests. Once you have Insight installed on student devices and you've got the COS installed and everything is linked, you will have access to the practice tests for access. We're seeing about 4 out of every 1,000 kids have blank speaking tests. It seems to be an issue with the students either being too shy to record their voice or not clicking the button right, because we can hear a lot of background noise and other students talking within the sample. So we just want to make sure that you're paying attention to how the students are interacting with the speaking section to try and catch that very, very minor percent of students who just don't seem to be catching their speech in that. Wanted to also highlight that WIDA does have new e-learning. They've got 6 different courses in the WIDA Secure portal. They're actually geared more towards classroom teachers than your ESL staff. So you're very much encouraged to make WIDA accounts for anyone who would benefit from those courses. When you make an account for a non-ESL staff, all you have to give them is the e-learning permission. At that point, they won't see the rest of the WIDA content in that portal, like the access training. If you're thinking about professional development happening in the school year with your staff, just take a look at what WIDA has offered and see if any of that would fit into what you're doing for professional development. And this is just a quick description of the courses that WIDA currently has in there and roughly how long they're going to take and who they're geared towards. This is the offerings for this year. In future years, WIDA is planning to continue to add more courses to their e-learning and continue to expand this offering.
Good morning, this is Mike PC, and we're going to talk about the BLM assessment. Districts have received and can now access student reports through Educator Portal. The 3 reports that DACs have access to for the districts are the Wisconsin Summary Report, the Performance Profile, and the Learning Profile. The reports are helpful for informing parents, informing IEPs, as well as curriculum planning. To find the reports, log into Educator Portal and select Reports. They are under the End of the Year tab, which is located in the Alternate Assessment tab. It's a little confusing on how to find them, so if you are having trouble finding the reports, please email or call me and I will be happy to help you with that. DLM has changed the name and updated the experience of the Instructional Tools interface this year. The new name is the Instruction and Assessment Planner. The purpose of the planner is to integrate classroom instruction and assessment in a cycle throughout the year. The planner gives the teachers the flexibility to select specific essential elements to teach and to assess understanding throughout the year. This allows you to use the DLM not only as an end-of-the-year assessment, but as a valuable teaching tool throughout the year. If there are teachers in your districts that would be interested in using the planner, there will be a few steps that need to be completed. They are the same steps that are used in the end-of-the-year testing. First, when the teachers log in, they'll have to acknowledge the security agreement. Training needs to be completed on Moodle. Students need to be rostered, and first contact surveys need to be completed. If you have interest in using this planner this year, please feel free to contact me or Iris Jacobson. And the last two things I have is user cleanup on DLM to help us keep our reports nice and neat. I'm asking for your help to clean up the reports. This is important for security. It helps us make sure that only users that need access have access to student data. So if you can deactivate users who do not need access or have changed roles or districts, that would be very helpful. And finally, Moodle training is available now and teachers can begin completing their training. So if you have any questions about any of this, please feel free to contact me.
Good morning. This is Allison. I'm the forward coordinator. First, I want to thank everyone, and if you can reach out to your educators and thank them also if they participated in any of our educator opportunities this summer. So we had the forward exam item review for ELA, math, science, and social studies. Those occurred in July and August. We also had a science standard setting that took place at the end of May, and we had a science alignment study that took place the first week of August. So we were very busy this summer, and we really appreciate your involvement. We couldn't do this without our educators. Right now, forward seems like a long way off, but the first thing that we kind of approach every year is the technology training. So we will have, similar to years previously, we'll have DTC trainings released. The planned date is November 14th. And we're going to be doing a recorded training presentation this year, so that is scheduled to be released on the 21st. So the resources and the technology user guide will be the 14th. The training presentation will be the 21st. We'll remind you of this in the DAC Digest, and then we'll have DTC Q&A sessions next spring, also the first one starting in January. Right now, it's important to have your DTCs look at the system requirements documentation that DRC provides. It's available on the Forward Exam Technology Requirements and Resources webpage. It's crucial to make sure that all of your testing devices, your Chromebooks or your iPads, that they can support the operating system that is going to be required to run Insight. So doing that now is the time to do that. You will be receiving permissions to access eDIRECT for the 2020 administration October 25th. And we ask that all of you get your DAC and your DTC update forms in before this because we have to provide an updated list to DRC so they can assign permissions. Once you get in there, you need to inactivate any individuals who have moved, who are no longer employed by the district, to make sure that we limit the number of people that have access to eDIRECT and access to that secure student data. And the Forward Accessibility Guide, we released that at the end of August this year. We've been trying to make sure we get that out as early as possible so that educators and special education teams, when they're putting together IEPs and plans, that they have that and they can use that as a resource to figure out what accessibility features a student needs and document that. So make sure your educators know this is available on the Accommodations and Supports webpage. We do also have the calendar webpage, so that has been updated with key test administration dates, and check that regularly for other updates as well.
Good morning. ACT with writing, paper and pencil dates for grade 11 students for spring 2020 are listed on screen. Schools are able to use all three of those test dates to provide opportunities for their students to test. Please note that those accommodation windows are just Monday through Friday windows, even though those are 2-week-long windows. And we are hoping to finalize the 2021 dates in the next couple of weeks, and when we have that information available, we will provide it in the DAC Digest. TA Next and the TAA system will both be available for schools beginning on November 5th. School test coordinators will use PA Next to select the test participation dates, verify student information, and order materials. School staff will use the TAA system to request accommodations for students with disabilities. Further guidance on dates and deadlines will be provided in future correspondence. Training webinar dates for spring 2020 test administrations are presented on screen. All these webinars will be recorded and posted to the ACT and DPI resources web pages. And please note that test administration webinar number 2 covers different content from test administration webinar number 1. All right, ACT Aspire. Online testing window, April 6th through May 6th this coming school year for grades 9 and grade 10. All right, so Aspire next steps, beginning with this 2020 administration, Aspire will be transitioning over to the PA Next instead of using the current Aspire portal. DACs will receive access later this fall and given guidance on how to provide school test coordinators with access. School and district staff should access the current Aspire portal and download spring 2019 reports prior to October 31st. And this slide provides a list of Aspire resources. Please bookmark these pages for easy access. All right, now moving on to reading readiness requirements for the 2019-2020 school year. Requirements will remain in effect as they were from the previous years. Districts are required to screen all 4-year-old kindergarten through 2nd grade students at least once during the school year. Schools have been required to report the results of screening to parents and guardians. Students who are identified as being at risk of reading difficulty shall be provided with interventions or remedial reading services. And districts will continue to be able to seek reimbursement for expenses incurred during the 2019-20 school year, and we will provide reimbursement most likely in May of 2020. And for any additional questions or for additional information, you can access the sites listed on screen. And feel free to contact me at your convenience if you have any additional questions.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. I had to run down from another meeting, so sorry I couldn't greet you, but as always, thank you so much for all your help with the item development activities and alignment and standard setting and everything else this summer. It's going to definitely improve the quality of our assessment. And as in the past year, we are going to have the same cadre of assessments with access in the winter, and then the spring we will be testing Forward, ACT, and Aspire. The only change is we are dropping the WorkKeys assessment. We did a survey this year, and then we listened to all your feedback, and therefore WorkKeys will not be administered in this year, but other than that, we are keeping the same set of assessments this year, and we will be sharing with you all the instructions and trainings and resources as they become available. So as always, please stay tuned to the DAC Digest and other communications and trainings and share them with the staff who are deeply involved in this process. We look forward to collaborating with you all. Thanks to the OSA staff here who have done an amazing work all year last year in administering the assessments and reporting the assessments so quickly than any other year, and also working tirelessly all summer to get ready for this year's assessment. Thank you, and looking forward to a great school year.
I see one question for ACT Aspire. Will we have to use TAA for accommodations?
You will not need to use TAA for accommodations for Aspire. Aspire accommodations are still determined at the local level without requiring ACT approval, so no TAA for Aspire.
I see another question from Stephanie. How does the district determine the grade level of an exchange student?
That is a moderately complicated question, and a lot of it depends on the school system of the country that they came from. We've got some guidance in our EL Policy Handbook, which you can find on the DPI website. In the search, just type EL Policy Handbook and you can find it. I think that's going to be under our Chapter 13 special circumstances or something along that line. Otherwise, give myself or Audrey Lasandak a call or an email, and we can try and help you work through that.
It looks like we don't have any more questions for today. Again, please feel free to reach out to anyone here with further questions via email or through a telephone call. Everyone here is always happy to help. We thank you for joining us this morning, and we're wishing all of you a safe and happy fall at school. Thanks, and have a great day.